What's going on, everybody? Welcome to a special episode of GameList, but we've been having a lot of special episodes lately. My name is Jake, Jake Twitchin everywhere. This is Kaulin, aka Kaulin. Kaulin, how's it going?
Hello. It's going great. How are you, man?
Good. I'm excited for this one. This is our first. I think we've had a couple different special things happen. We've had our Spoilist spin-off episodes. This is the first spin-off episode of GameList proper, where this is almost a regular episode. It's not quite a reaction. If you haven't caught our reactions to what we're talking about today, which is the big E3 summer game festivities that have transpired over the last couple days, do check those out. They're on YouTube at Kaulin, K-A-U-L-I-N-E. This is the big recap show, though. This is Kaulin and I running down our list of our favorite showings of video games over the past month. We'll be covering almost all the conferences. We've picked and chosen all of the most important things, the things that appeal to us the most. It's not comprehensive. If you want a breakdown of every single thing that came out, this is not the place for that. That would be exhaustive, and this episode would be 7 hours long. Not what we're trying to do to anybody. But if this is your first time watching GameList, listening to GameList, find us in your podcast feed, find us on YouTube. You can find us all over the place. Twitch, a bunch of different places. But for all intents and purposes, this one is kind of a one-off, but should be a very, very exciting one. I think we shouldn't waste time. There's no real extra, I don't think, like, bow that we need to put on this package here. Normally we have a rundown of like news and things that we're going, like things that we're playing. None of that today. All we're talking about is the things we liked the most. So I'm going to pitch it right over to Kaulin, and you tell me what was the best thing that you saw this year in all of the conferences.
Ooh, do we want to work our way up?
No, start with the best. Top of the episode. We need these.
Okay.
Don't tune out. Don't tune out, viewers. You listen.
Okay.
Here's what we are excited for.
From best to worst. The Last of Us Part 1.
The Last of Us Part 1.
So excited for that. Quick history of my Last of Us, experience. I did not have a PS3 when it came out, but I watched a playthrough of it and I adored it. I loved that game. And then it came to PS4 and I tried to play it, and the gameplay in the first one's not the best. We'll just be frank.
Really?
It's not the best. And I decided, you know what? I already experienced the story. The gameplay's not the best. Maybe I'm just not going to play it. So I never actually finished playing through The Last of Us, the original Last of Us at all.
It's a revelation.
So
Fake fan.
But I experienced the whole story. I know, right? I experienced the whole story, playthrough. But then I played through The Last of Us Part 2, and that knocked my socks off, right? I love that game so much, and we've argued about it on this podcast already.
Yeah. Please check out our previous episodes.
Yeah, I played through it recently after I got the PS5 patch, and it was the first time I had experienced it. I had avoided spoilers for nearly 2 years, and man, that game hit. So seeing this game with modernized controls, modernized graphics, the multiplayer taken out so I don't have to worry about anything multiplayer, I can't wait. I'm excited.
Yeah. I'll rival you in your experience with Last of Us, and I was an Uncharted fan from the jump. I played the first Uncharted, I think, the day that it came out on PlayStation 3, and then played Uncharted 2, played Uncharted 3 to completion, was very excited for The Last of Us, played it on PlayStation 3 the night it came out again, did that opening scene, cried my eyes out like a real man does, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. I was disappointed, is what I'll say, in The Last of Us Part 2. I still think it's a great video game. I just don't love the story beats that it hit. Not necessarily my cup of tea. But let's hop into the existence of this game and its debut. I think there's a lot of weird stuff surrounding this, and we don't like to be too negative off the jump, but this wouldn't have made my list. I'm not amped off of this video game. It seems, and this is like not a Wow, what a hot take from Jake Twitchin. I think a lot of people feel the same way. This is quick turnaround on a full remake for a game that I still think holds up well. I mean, we've got it was late PlayStation 3 release. It got a quick port to PlayStation 4 that still looks and plays well. There is room for improvement. If you play The Last of Us 2 and go back to Last of Us 1, no doubt you're going to see something different. But it just... I'm not out here rip-raring to go like, yes, I get to experience The Last of Us Part 1 story. It's been so long since I've played it, I don't even remember what happens. I remember fucking everything about that game, and I played it again 2 or 3 years ago. Am I champing at the bit to go out and spend $70 on this thing again? No.
I am.
I get it. I get it.
Well, see, I've heard your point be made multiple times on like Twitter and whatnot. So I did a little digging just because I was curious. So I'm gonna use Demon's Souls as an example. So Demon's Souls released in 2009 on PS3, and it got a full remake in 2020 at the launch of the PS5. That's 11 years difference.
Yeah.
The Last of Us came out in 2013, gets a full remake in 2022. It's 9 years difference. So really, it's not that far off of Demon's Souls or things of the like.
Yeah.
But I think that the thing is Naughty Dog was just such a master at their craft. They made the PS3 look so much better than any other game could, right? So I think it causes people to see a little bit more of a disconnect between The Last of Us and Last of Us Part 1 than they do between Demon's Souls and Demon's Souls Remake, right? And I understand that. But for someone who hasn't like experienced it firsthand, I'm super excited to have something that handles like the Last of Us Part 2. And along that, they're increasing the accessibility options probably to the length of The Last of Us Part 2, if not more. So it excites me that more people are going to get their hands on this game that couldn't before, that just physically couldn't. Right. And the history of why it's made. So there was a support studio within Sony. I don't know the exact name, but they wanted to become their own game studio. They were tired of doing support. They wanted to become their own game studio. So they said, you know what, Sony, we're going to remake The Last of Us. So they were working on remaking The Last of Us up to the quality of The Last of Us Part 2 while The Last of Us Part 2 was in production. Well, The Last of Us Part 2 needed more help, so then that team transferred to help on The Last of Us Part 2, and then The Last of Us Part 1 was dumped back off on a secondary team in Naughty Dog.
Interesting.
So it has a very interesting development history within Sony, but I don't know, man. I'm super excited. I understand people not being excited, but I just can't wait. I'm
being a fake gamer boy about it. I'm gonna play it when it launches, I'm sure.
Yeah.
It's a fantastic fucking video game. The Last of Us Part 1 is pretty much as close to perfect as you can get. It really is an excellent story, and I adore that game, the first one. But your reasoning there in the way that team fell into this role of creating The Last of Us Part 1 is interesting, because I was going to ask what made them choose The Last of Us Part 1. Was it having the bones of The Last of Us Part 2 to work with, and that was an easy layup for them to adapt it into The Last of Us Part 1? Because the other thought that I had was, why Last of Us and not Uncharted? Uncharted's older. Yeah. That first one doesn't hold up as well as 2 and 3. It's kind of a one-note story. And then they would have had, if they chose to do so, a little bit more to work with, because now they've done Last of Us Part 1, and Part 2 is, already modernized. It's right where it needs to be. Yeah. They could have then used that engine to go and adapt Uncharted 2, Uncharted 3, but I'm not positive the sales figures on Uncharted versus Last of Us. I think Last of Us is more popular these days. So
yeah,
but they had that opportunity with Uncharted 4 as well. So
yeah, I think they are one. I'm pretty sure Jason Schreier has a big piece on like the development history of this game.
Yeah.
And then 2, I think they're going to try to work it out with the launch of the Last of Us HBO show. I know they wrapped filming recently.
Yep.
So if they could drum up some like hype for the game, then automatically that's going to go over to the show, or vice versa.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
more people talking about The Last of Us in different places.
Yeah, they haven't shown a release trailer or date for the show yet, but I can't imagine it would be far behind one or the other.
Right. Makes sense. Do you want to talk a little bit about the way that game was revealed at the Game Awards? Because I've got a bone to pick with that as well.
Yeah. So it leaked about 2 hours prior to the Game Awards. It was Jeff Keighley's show ender, right? It was supposed to, blow the socks off people. It got leaked. They mentioned it at the beginning of the show without referring to the name. So people are like, people who aren't online on Twitter, tuned in with gaming news 24/7 like you and I are, they didn't know, right?
Yeah.
So then when the reveal happened, they were just kind of like moping around on stage, all sad.
Yeah.
And like, I
hate it.
understand. I get it, but you got to have a better attitude than that, I think.
For
and like,
sure.
It just kind of killed it when they were on stage, and like Neil Druckmann's kind of like mopey up there, like, yeah, Sony, if you want to leak my next project. I'm like,
if you drop
tacky.
the birthday cake, the party's not over. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
not that big of a deal, and they let that leak loom over. Now, I do wonder what that Venn diagram looks like, the people that would actually sit there and watch Summer Game Fest, how many of them were already previously spoiled by it. So maybe, I don't know, people are pretty tapped in these days, and it was a pretty widespread leak while people were, getting amped for the show. And I'm sure more than 50% of the people that were excited for Summer Game Fest knew about The Last of Us going in. But it doesn't mean that you need to treat it that way, because there was, I think you said, moping around. There was this weird aura of the whole thing, and don't get me wrong, like I felt it too. I was like, oh, that sucks. Their big barn burner at the end of the show is kind of spoiled. But I remember, I can't put my finger on it, but there was a Sony press conference once where the same thing happened, like a day or two before something gigantic leaked, and the day that they revealed it, they just did a really quick tongue-in-cheek, like, and now let's get into the worst kept secret in the video game industry, and then revealed it like it was brand new to everybody. That's the way to do it. Touch on it, make light of the situation, reveal it like it's your actual fucking debut, and reveal. I don't think anybody that is involved with that project, including the people that are involved with Summer Game Fest, are going to look back at that footage and be satisfied with the way that they handled that. So
yeah,
it's a tough look.
I could be wrong, but I think it was actually The Last of Us Part 2 when the script leaked.
You might be right, which is even more sad. But I mean, the game itself looks awesome. It's exciting enough. I think the world will be ready to sink their teeth into The Last of Us again when it does come out.
Absolutely.
Any final thoughts on it? Anything else that needs to be said about The Last of Us? You think $70?
I think $70 is a little steep, to be honest. But I can't wait to cry at the opening of that game again in 4K. Yeah. I've talked to my girlfriend and I said, I know you don't like horror stuff, but you're going to sit down with me while we play this game and you're going to experience this story, because it is one of the best stories of all time.
Here's a question for you. I feel like I have this thought a lot when it comes to like remakes and things like that, and I don't see it done all that often, but it's something that I always kind of hope for, and I don't see. But Last of Us 2 spoilers are on the table. Very light Last of Us 2 spoilers. I wonder if there's any way. I love when a remake is framed differently, and even though it's a remake of the first game, I would love it if it opened up with like maybe a character that survives The Last of Us Part 2 telling a story to maybe a certain younger character, and that frames the reveal. I like when something seems like it's going to be a remake, but it actually pushes the story forward. One of the series that I think does that well is Kingdom Hearts. I know that you hate to hear it, but Kingdom Hearts is guilty of retreading ground very, very often. And I think to like Melody of Memory is their like rhythm game where it goes through every single piece of Kingdom Hearts, and it's all framed via we're extracting memories from this character, but it's framed in a way so that at the beginning and the end of the game there actually is lore that pushes that franchise forward. So kind of a cool thing that I don't see all that often and wish I did, and I think there'd be a cool way to do that with a certain character with a great first initial, Jay.
Yeah, I think it would make the price tag more worth it if they added something.
It would sting less. Yeah. And then no word on. Oh, there is word. We should talk about this a little bit too. We're spending probably too much time on Last of Us, but just.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I know. You're really worried about that.
Yeah.
Grounded. I think the word on the street was that this
Actions.
Listen, can we have a class action lawsuit against Sony for not including Grounded in the price of The Last of Us Part 2? Factions? What the fuck is Grounded? Factions. Is that the old?
Grounded's the hardest difficulty mode. Factions is the multiplayer mode.
Factions was supposed to be a part of Last of Us 2, and it's not. And then I think a lot of people thought that it was going to be a part of this, and it would be Factions with The Last of Us Part 1 remake kind of bundled together, and it's a completely separate thing now. And further off than The Last of Us Part 1, still working on it.
Yeah, evidently it's like a full-size multiplayer game now. It's blown out of proportion. So we'll see. I mean,
I know Last of Us, that seems like a miss, man. I hope they're not putting in, I hope that's not delaying Last of Us Part 3, because that feels fucking wrong, and it feels like a misread on your audience to think that that's what Last of Us fans.
Part 3. Not for a long time, at least.
You don't kill a cash cow. I think what's gonna happen is I think it's a misread on the audience. The audience likes single player stories within the Last of Us universe that are narrative driven and about emotion and things like that. And I bet they can work that in some ways into this Factions thing, but I don't think it will hit the same, and it won't resonate the same way. And I think it's going to be probably maybe I'll eat my words in a couple years when it comes out, but I think it will be the worst received thing in the Last of Us franchise. So.
Could be. I mean, it wouldn't be hard to be the worst received thing in the Last of Us franchise.
Yeah, for sure. You make a good
really
point.
High rated.
All right. Listen, we spent 15 minutes on The Last of Us, and I demand we spend 15 minutes talking about Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. I lost my fucking mind. I can't believe this.
You did.
It's worth noting that this was kind of like a last-minute addition. The dust had sort of settled. We had the Summer Game Fest event had come and gone. The PlayStation State of Play, where people thought it was going to pop up, including myself, had come and gone. Xbox Bethesda Showcase, I don't think anyone thought it was going to be there. Mum was the word, but some people, like myself, had hope. In Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. Oh, we know. There's a bet that we have to go over here. Man, we haven't talked about bets yet. We're gonna do bets at the end of the show. Anybody that's been listening.
Okay.
Oh no, you're right. We saved that for the next show.
That's
for podcast listeners. So Final Fantasy VII Rebirth is announced via a Final Fantasy VII 25th anniversary presentation. It's its own live stream. It was a pre-recorded video about 10 minutes long, and it included a couple things. Perhaps you'll see another one pop up a little bit later in this show. But let's focus on the big boy here, and it's Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, aka Final Fantasy VII Remake Part 2. The other big part of this announcement is that it is part of the Final Fantasy VII Remake trilogy. It is announced that this is now 3 games. We've already had Final Fantasy VII Remake, Remake Intergrade. Now Final Fantasy VII Rebirth is the middle chapter of what will be a whole brand new trilogy, and goddamn, this game looked sweet. What did you think of the trailer?
It looks good. It's open world ish, at least.
Possibly.
At least parts of it are, because there was a marker on a compass, and normally, if you're building a linear world, you're not going to have a compass at the top of your screen.
Well, there's a compass in the original Final Fantasy VII Remake as well. It's a very similar UI, but there's...
Is there, at the top of the screen, there was like a north, south, east, west compass?
Yeah, there's like you're going in the right direction. That thing was always there.
That.
But there is a very lengthy distance in show, and what you're seeing on screen, if you're watching this on YouTube, if you're not, please follow us on YouTube, is a part of a flashback. If you're not privy to the series of events that happened in the original Final Fantasy VII, you're playing as Cloud, but Sephiroth is in your party, and you're going through events that transpire in a town called Nibelheim, which is the first stop, one of the first stops that you make in Final Fantasy VII Original after where we are. The first stop will be Kalm, I believe, Kalm. But there's a lot to actually unpack via a 1.5-minute long trailer. And I think the most exciting thing is perhaps the dialogue in the trailer. There's a conversation happening between Cloud and Tifa about where things are in this storyline. And I don't want to go into spoilers too heavily because Kaulin has lost a bet with me. He did not think that this would be announced, and therefore we will be recording a full spoiler discussion of the Final Fantasy VII Remake Integrate package. So the original, not the original game, but the original Remake game, as well as the Integrate DLC, will have a lengthy 2-hour plus conversation about everything involved in that, where spoilers will be completely on the table, and we'll be making all kinds of predictions, and honestly using this trailer quite a bit to inform some of the stuff that we talk about when we talk about Final Fantasy VII Remake, because the things that happen in the third act of that game are absolutely insane. The announced time frame for 7 Rebirth is next winter.
Yeah. Winter 2023.
Pretty loose. There was Final Fantasy VII Remake had a lot of different release dates, and for a very long time, when we finally had something like completely ironed out, was in the early months of COVID in 2020. It was supposed to be March of 2020, which had that date for like a good 6 or 7 months, I want to say. At the last minute, it was pushed an extra month, and it released in April of 2020. And I think if we're probably looking at 3 or 4 years. How many would it be? It'd be 4 years, essentially, if it came out in April of 2024. Yeah. I think that hoping for holiday season of next year is asking a little much. If we say winter, I guess it's any time between November of 2023 and April of 2024. My guess is that we're looking at that 4-year time span for sure.
Yeah.
Really, really exciting. Very good reveal, and definitely out of nowhere, a nice late addition to the roster. There were a couple of those.
Mm-hmm.
Always a pleasure. Go ahead and add those whenever you'd like, Square Enix. We'll be talking a little bit more about the Final Fantasy 25th anniversary as we get further down our list. But speaking of late additions to the party, there was another quick conference that was added last minute. In addition to the PlayStation event and the Xbox and Summer Game Fest, there was a Capcom event. It wasn't revealed at the Capcom event, am I right? It was
revealed at the PS State of Play.
The State of Play, and then it was followed up on. They talked about it a little bit more at the Capcom event. But
yeah, it was
next up on your list
opener
is
at the State of Play.
Resident Evil 4
Yep.
Remake.
RE4 remake.
Yeah. What do you make of this?
So I played Resident Evil 8. Decided I want to go play through the whole series. Played RE1 remake, RE2 remake, RE3 remake. Tried to play RE4, and I don't want to say it sucks, but it's hard to maneuver.
Don't worry, it doesn't suck.
It doesn't hold up mechanically nowadays unless you've been playing it since it came out, right? It was very hard for me to get through. I got probably a third of the way through. And I just was like, I'm tired of this. I'm done. I'm going to wait until the remake comes. So, super excited because I loved all the other RE games that I played. So seeing a remake for this has me absolutely nuts. I'm so excited. I love RE of what I've played. And I can't wait for more. I don't really have anything I don't know, mind-boggling on this reveal.
No revelations. I'm pretty big on Resident Evil 4. There is not a Resident Evil game that they could announce that would make me more excited for a Resident Evil game than the Resident Evil 4 remake. It's the one that I feel like just kind of hit at the right time. It's the one the only one I think that I've actually played all the way through. I did 5 as well, but that's even.
So, are you gonna play this remake all the way through?
Probably not. I think part of Resident Evil 4's appeal to me was it was just kind of that look and feel of just unrealistic enough. And if I've learned anything from Resident Evil 2 and 3 remake, it's that that's not an issue anymore. It feels pretty realistic and pretty scary. So I think some of the campiness that I found acceptable in the Resident Evil 4 game that I played initially is going to be absent from this, and I think it'll just scare the pants off of me. So I will very happily watch you stream it. I think is about all I need. I'm happy with my original Resident Evil 4, but a cool reveal nonetheless.
Yeah, it is coming out in 2023, March 24th, 2023. And just to kind of like loop back to how I was talking about different distance between remakes, this came out in 2005, the original.
Ooh, 5.
Now it's come out in like 8 different forms since then. But then this new one will be in 2023. So what, that's a 18-year difference.
Yeah. They pumped out that VR version just in time to cash in one last time.
Yep.
Pretty wild, but yeah, exciting little reveal. Just real quick, Resident Evil 8 DLC, because it didn't really make either of our lists, but it was announced at that Capcom event as well. Exciting to you?
Yeah, Shadows of Rose, I think. It's a third-person only DLC, so it's going to be more like the remakes than RE8. Along with that, they announced you can play the entirety of RE8 in third person with the DLC
cool
pack,
as well.
so that's cool.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
A lot of people I've seen the discourse online being hell of a fucking time jump. Not everyone's thrilled with the idea of, like, I'm not sure how self-contained it's going to be, but, you know, if important characters start popping up 20, 25 years into the future, and then, you know, they start shoehorning Resident Evil 9 in between Resident Evil 8 and the Resident Evil 8 DLC, things can get iffy with timelines and kind of questionable, and it creates a little bit of a...
Well, I think they found the perfect way around that. Is it takes place in her head. It's like a dream thing.
Got it.
It's not in the real world. It's like a nightmare almost.
Got it.
So yeah.
Cool.
You can have characters pop up in her head that technically aren't there in the real world, so you don't have to worry about it in the timeline.
Nice. All right, moving on. Let's take a look at, you're never going to believe this, but we're on number 1 for you is Last of Us, number 2 for you is Resident Evil, number 1 for me is Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, number 2 for me is Final Fantasy XVI. Now, this feels like, it's a little weird because that state of play happened like a good week early on like the Summer Game Fest and Xbox Bethesda week, and then the Final Fantasy VII one happened a good week late. So there was like almost 2.5 weeks between these announcements. So it almost feels like Final Fantasy XVI's big trailer and re-reveal, if you will, has not waned in like excitement or anything like that, but it just feels like a decent amount of time has passed. But if you watched our reaction video, both of us went pretty fucking nuts for this game. It is nice to see back in action. There had been almost a year and a half of silence. The last time we saw this game was when it was announced with a pretty impressive trailer that had gameplay and everything, and then they showed us some more gameplay this time around, and they did not disappoint. Where do you stand on Final Fantasy XVI hype? The only Final Fantasies you've played are the more modern ones. You've played 15, 7 Remake, and End of List, right?
Strangers of Paradise, excuse
oh my fucking
you.
God, I haven't even played
that. I'll buy it release day. Yeah, I'll play it. I'm excited.
Yeah. Hell yeah. It really had an awesome showing. It was introduced by Naoki Yoshida, who is my boy, Yoshi P, who runs basically Final Fantasy XIV online. I mean, obviously with a gigantic team. But he is the lead producer on this, and they announced as well a man by the name of Soken is doing the soundtrack for it. And if you haven't seen the trailer for Final Fantasy XVI, do check out the trailer online and crank that volume up, because the absolutely ridiculous sound design and music is knocking. They showed off a healthy amount of, pretty hard to follow story beats that they were kind of showing off, and it's tough to kind of tell what's happening in the game, but they showed off some really interesting battle stuff where you're not really seeing much of a party per se, and you're seeing summons that look like they're in almost like a fucking kaiju fight, right?
Yeah, I was about to say kaiju, yeah.
It's really, really bizarre. It's going to be a game that I think will be shown in a very big way again sometime in the near future, because there's still, despite seeing it twice, in action twice, there's still a lot of questions as to how this game performs and how it plays and what's actually happening. It looks like it's somewhere in between Final Fantasy 15 and 7 Remake as far as the battle system goes. Looks action oriented, but there's just some really interesting UI features and some funky stuff going on where at some points it cuts away and it looks like a Godzilla video game or like a Tekken fighting game or something like that. But really, really a spectacle. Huge emphasis on the summons. It seems like what people are gathering is that your party members each have their own summon, and they go Morphin Time style into these gigantic kaijus. But big emphasis on the summons, no matter what. What else you seeing with 16? Else?
Didn't they rename summons into like assists or something?
I think it's Archons, maybe.
I'm not sure.
It's not summons. It's not. Shit. They call them primals. They always have a different name, but
yeah, we're gonna call them summons from here on out. But
they'll always be summons in our hearts as Final Fantasy fans. But truly a spectacular trailer and a great showing for Final Fantasy XVI. A lot of people thought this game was so far along when we saw it a year and a half ago. Perhaps we're going to see it by the end of the year. They were holding out hope. Early 2023, which is goddamn a fucking theme in a lot of the games that we're seeing here. It almost feels like, I don't know, I mean, COVID obviously fucked up a lot of video game release schedules, but there's this like trend that's happening. It happened last year, at the beginning of this year. We got so many gigantically big releases right at the beginning of the year, and then the end of the year kind of pales in comparison when you start looking at what that November, December, October area looks like. It's almost weaker than like January, February, March of this year, and it looks like it's tough to tell what holiday 2023 looks like, but it's looking like a strong start to 2023 as well. Pretty cool. I mean, depending on what time of year it is, it won't feel so cool in November of this year, but it'll feel great at the beginning of next year. I assure you. All right, let's get to arguably the best looking in its genre, but goddamn did it have some competition this time around. Next up on your list is the Callisto Protocol. Take it away, man. I'm out on this one.
So the Callisto Protocol is developed by Glenn Schofield. I've heard it pronounced both ways. I'd love to ask the guy, how do you pronounce your last name?
Yeah,
we'll say Schofield because I like that better. Anyways, it's Striking Distance Studios. It's actually like a PUBG subsidiary.
Oh yeah, so this is the one that used to be part of PUBG's universe, right?
Yeah, it used to be in like the distant future of PUBG's universe, and then they're weird. Actually, that's just kind of pointless. We're not doing that anymore.
Yeah.
But anyways, it's from the original creator of Dead Space.
Yeah.
So the vibes that you're looking at, it's very Dead Spacey, which is a compliment in all regards. So this game, a couple of fun facts. The team, they spent, I think they said 2 or 3 years working on the gore systems in this game. And they studied like videos of real life tragedies of like people being crushed by buildings on video, or like people getting stepped on by like horses or stuff, to study how the body breaks down so they could make it more realistic in game. So it's going to be very, very, very intense. From what we've seen of the game already, it's extremely intense and like disturbing. But I'm excited about this game. I love freaky stuff like this. I'll be scared out of my pants playing it, but I can't wait. I'm super excited for this game. Its release date is December 2nd, 2022. So right for the holiday, right before the holiday. And it's worth mentioning the Dead Space remake is coming out January 27th, 2023. So about a month later, nearly 2 months later, we're getting basically the same game. So
December release dates always really worry me. They always feel like, we gotta get it out before the holiday season. It's not ready for that ripe early November release date. We gotta get it done by this deadline. It just these days it just feels like Cyberpunk's release window is cursed. I don't think it'll be an issue. I honestly, from an outside perspective, having zero interest in this, just from having an interest in like video game news and production, a lot of people are really fired up about this game. It's new IP, and it's tough to get people excited for new IP sometimes, but it has the right minds behind it. Every time they show it, it looks good. People are hyped up. I have high hopes for it. I'm excited for you guys, Yeah. It does look good.
I can't wait. It's one of my most anticipated right now.
Definitely. You're not alone in those thoughts. Now, you're not going to believe this, But my next most highly anticipated game from the show. Can you guess the franchise it might be from?
Kingdom Hearts.
You're so close. It's Crisis Core Final Fantasy VII Reunion. Excellent name. At this point, anybody listening or watching this is sick of me talking about Final Fantasy. I'll make it short and sweet, but this is a really exciting announcement for Final Fantasy VII fans, for Final Fantasy fans in general. This game is it's really tough to call this game a remake, because you have Final Fantasy VII Remake that exists, that's done, to the nines, and is really, really a remake. It's also not worth calling this a remaster, because it's way more than that. It looks a lot better. The coat of paint, if it's a remaster, is absolutely insane. I want to call it somewhere between a remaster and a remake, because we've seen what remasters are for Final Fantasy games, and they are basically, here's some HD textures and some, better character models. This is more than that. This game looks really, really good, but it does not look like Final Fantasy VII Remake. It's coming out for all platforms, not just PlayStation 5, as Final Fantasy VII Rebirth is so far. It's a remake of a PSP game, and the reason why it's so exciting is because this game was locked in time on the PSP for a very, very long time, to the point of, if you didn't have a PlayStation Portable or a Vita, you were not playing this video game. The only possible way to do it would be through emulation, if you were not an owner of those consoles, which we do not endorse here. Can't see it if you're listening, but I winked really hard. But it's nice to have this game unlocked, and the story is ridiculously important to Final Fantasy VII lore. It takes place before Final Fantasy VII. It stars Zack. The second lead could be argued that it's Aerith, which is exciting. And back when Final Fantasy VII was having its little 10-year resurgence, 15-year resurgence, when it was having Advent Children and Dirge of Cerberus, this was arguably the cream of the crop from all of that stuff. And if you've played Final Fantasy VII Remake, if you're excited for Rebirth, it is hugely, 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 I cannot emphasize that more, hugely important to the stories of those games. So really cool to have that back. Let me ask you. You go.
What's up? Well, I was going to say, it makes sense for them to make some changes here. If they've made changes in the remakes, then they might make some changes in Reunion to kind of fit in with it better.
Interesting story.
So it's not just
interesting
the
theory.
Old.
I feel like it doesn't feel like there's going to be anything different here. It doesn't feel like it's going to take the remake path and be like a secret sequel. It does feel like this is just a nice shiny coat of paint with maybe some quality of life features tacked onto it. It feels like it's going to be significantly more faithful. I think when all is said and done, Crisis Core Reunion will be much more similar to Crisis Core than 7 Remake will be to 7.
I think their biggest problem is going to be if the story of Crisis Core lines up perfectly with Remake, then that's fine. But if it doesn't, and it causes confusion, all the new people on RE7 Remake are going to be confused by Reunion, because they're going to be like, more Final Fantasy VII, but this doesn't make sense to the story that I just played.
It will, it'll fit in very, very well. Anybody that's what actually not a bad jumping off point, because what I was going to ask you is, having no history with the original Final Fantasy VII and only really being privy to the Final Fantasy VII Remake stuff, where does your excitement level fall for this?
I think it's pretty low. I mean, I'm not looking at it and be like, ugh, I don't want to play that.
Right.
But I have heard the original game was really grindy. And there were puzzles and encounters that pop up all the time.
It's random battles for sure.
Yeah, so I don't know. I'll probably hold off on this until all of the remakes are out, and then maybe I'll go back and check it out and see what's up.
Disagree. You should play it. I really think that you would like it. It is a JRPG, and I think it's probably worth me talking about the base game since I have some knowledge on it. The coolest part about Final Fantasy Crisis Core is its battle system. So despite what you're saying being true, in that there is random battles and it is a little bit grindy, the best part about the game, arguably outside of the story, is the battle system. It's cool to run around the world and to do your quests and whatnot, but every time that screen starts up and you have a new enemy encounter, the way that it takes turn-based and action RPG tropes and kind of turns them on their head a little bit is really, really unique and interesting. It feels as much like Final Fantasy VII Original's battle system as possible, while being wholly different. The entire thing is operated off of a roulette system, which sounds bizarre, but it really, really works well, and it makes there's something about roulette machines. Vegas has it figured out. Gambling is popular for a reason. Those roulette machines pump out money because people like seeing things spin and they like to hit it big. And it works the same way in those battles. The second that thing starts spinning, you're like, oh, fuck yeah, let's get those spins going. It plays, man. Super fun. Yeah. Really, really can't wait to dive into that game again. And it's been too long. It's been locked on that PlayStation Portable for far too long.
I'll check it out.
Yeah. Before we get into our next one, it's worth talking about how we kind of structured this. We're kind of going down each other's lists right now, one by one. The numbers will get looser. We're not numbering them or anything like that. We're kind of just going in general excitement. There is some overlap, though. For example, if Kaulin hadn't picked this one up as one of his most excited, probably would have made my list too. In that game, Starfield finally had its big party. Man.
Starfield is the game that people are getting mad at me saying that I'm not excited enough for it.
I'm one of those people. I put it on my list.
Yeah, I'm cautiously optimistic about it, right? You know how Bethesda games are. The showing was good, but I think it could have been better.
Sure.
The frame rate was kind of rough, and I hope they can figure that out. Surely they can. I was kind of watching it and I was like, maybe this is just running on like a Xbox One and it'll run better on an actual Series X, but no. But no, it looks good. I'm excited. I want Skyrim in space. I want to be able to go and play the main path and all the factions and stuff, and I'm excited to build my own ship. That was probably the coolest thing that they showed in this reveal. Can't say the space battles didn't impress me very much. And the more I sit on it, the more I am worried about the explore over 1,000 planets.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of people talking about that.
I'm worried because Bethesda's thing is let's shoot for the stars, and if we miss, then oh well, you know.
If we miss, we'll land on the moon.
They shoot too high sometimes. Yeah,
or one of 1,000 planets.
Yeah, or one of the 1,000 planets. They shoot too high sometimes. And I think it's good that they're shooting high, but they need to just do what they're good at. And some would say they're good at doing too much. I don't know. I don't know. I'm cautiously optimistic. I'm going to play this game day one, naturally. I always say that, and I do. But you know, after Fallout 4 being kind of a letdown and Fallout 76 being a big letdown, they got some goodwill to win back. And I hope this game can do it.
I think this one is something that I am basically out on Bethesda stuff. I've found I don't always love the things that they put together. I think that my favorite thing that they've ever done is Elder Scrolls Skyrim. And I only played that for the first time like a year ago. I just know the games are sometimes too big for me. There's too much going on.
I forced you to.
You did force me to, and I don't regret it. And I also played Elder Scrolls the wrong way, as they say. I just beelined the MSQ, main story quest, and beat it in like 13 hours. And I liked what I played of it. I do get worried that this game is too big. I get overwhelmed with games like that. But that being said, I've also put 100 hours into No Man's Sky, which has nothing but barren planets. It's a big question mark for me, but I've found that I like a sci-fi epic. I'm a Star Wars fan through and through. Mass Effect is one of my favorite franchises of all time. I see a lot of the DNA of both of those. I think about what they did right with Elder Scrolls and the way that I liked the way that that game played. I think that there's going to be something here for me. But
and I think part of the problem with my hype is there's no background for me to get excited off of. If it was Elder Scrolls 6 and they said you could go to 1,000 planets, I would probably be much more excited. Right. But but
Fair.
it's just something new, and I don't have anything to base it off of. So
Yeah.
we'll see. I'm gonna play it, and I'm gonna love it more than likely. But I'm just kind of kicking back. I don't know. I'm a little worried they're shooting too far, but
Sure.
they can keep delaying it until they're ready. So
I get it for sure. All right.
do you think Starfield will be out within the next year?
Yeah. Yeah, I don't see why not.
Okay.
I feel like
Sure.
I feel like lately wasn't there Bethesda's pretty good at that. I feel like they're usually pretty solid at like shutting the fuck up until it's go time. If I remember correctly, I was working at GameStop back in the day when Fallout 4 was announced.
Announcement?
And wasn't that like game out within 7 months or something crazy like that?
They announced it at E3 and released it in November, I believe.
Yeah. So that's a fast turnaround.
Yeah.
A little worrisome that they haven't shown anything until now as far as that goes, but I don't know. It's tough to get a frame of reference on this game and how far along it is because I think they announced it too early and they didn't have anything to show for it for a very long time. But same thing happened with Final Fantasy VII Remake, and look how that sucker turned out.
Well, and literally in an interview, Todd Howard said, "Yeah, we're working on Starfield, and we just now put Elder Scrolls 6 into pre-production, and then after that, we're going to be working on Fallout 5." It's like, dude, you don't have to tell us these things 20 years in advance.
I don't mind that. If I was a Fallout fan, I'd be amped to just know, okay, cool, that's what we're getting next. And I think that that's the right way to do it. I honestly, I like that. I wish more people would do that. I wish Nomura would say, hey, we're doing Final Fantasy VII Remake. We're doing Rebirth. That's going to come out first. After that, it's Kingdom Hearts 4, and then we'll get back to the Final Fantasy Remake trilogy. Like, that would bring me, I'd be like, all right, cool. I know what to get excited for. I know my hype levels and where they should be. I don't know.
Yeah, that's fair. I guess just talking about something 20 years away doesn't make much sense to me.
Yeah,
but
I get it.
Then again, if it were like Sucker Punch being, yeah, we're gonna do Ghost of Tsushima and then an Infamous and then a Sly Cooper game, I'd be like, okay, let's go.
See, it's dope, man. Give us your plans.
I don't know.
And then let us hold you to them.
Yeah, we'll see.
We're officially the podcast that spent the least amount of time talking about Starfield, and I'm really proud of us for that. All right. My next game is Street Fighter VI. Street Fighter VI had a hell of a showing, man. I absolutely loved what they showed off.
Never backing down.
The song is dope. The song is so dope. Oh my god. So this was debuted at the Sony event, and they went balls to the wall. At first, it was almost tough to tell what game they were showing. The trailer opens up on like a neo-futuristic city that we end up finding out you can play a third-person single-player adventure game in. So fucking cool. And that is really just the tip of the iceberg of the things that they showed. We knew that it was Luke and Ryu as announced characters. We saw the Ryu redesign at the last time they showed Final Fantasy Street Fighter 6, and he's daddy now for sure. And then Luke was the last DLC character for Street Fighter 5, and they announced him as the last DLC character, saying he's going to be the face of Street Fighter going forward. They are staying true to their word. It looks like it's kind of equal billing. It's Ryu versus Luke in this game. They also showed off a redesigned Chun-Li, and oh my god, it is the coolest looking outfit for Chun-Li that I think I've ever seen in my life. I think the redesign is spot on. They also showed one new character named Jamie, who's kind of like almost like an Eddie Gordo style dancer, if you know your Tekken, but also has like some Boraicho vibes, like Drunken Master stuff, if you know your Mortal Kombat. Really interesting looking character. And then they showed again at Summer Game Fest. They're doing a great job of trickling out information for this game. So they showed it at the showcase for PlayStation at the State of Play. Then just a week and a half later at Summer Game Fest, they had an exclusive trailer that revealed Guile, another returning character. And they've been doing a great job with the marketing, kind of trickling out, here's this returning character, here's this new character, here's this music video for the song, here's Ryu's theme on YouTube, you can listen to the whole 3-minute thing. It's just a really nice package that they're putting together. The thing that we're not talking about is probably the most important part, and that's the actual fighting in the game. I'm not a very deep fighting game player. I am not out here competing in Evo. I am one of those individuals that played a lot of Street Fighter when I was a kid. I enjoyed the hell out of it. I thought I was good because I beat all of my friends that I knew in real life. And at the arcades, I used to, hold it down pretty well. Then the internet was invented, and I played Street Fighter Online for the first time and realized that I'm absolute dog shit, and I shouldn't even be playing them. So I really hop into these games to fight some friends for a couple weeks when they come out, check out the new character when it's released via DLC, and that's pretty much the extent of it. Everything that I've heard as far as coverage goes on the actual fighting system itself, I watch a lot of Maximilian Dude, if you know your big Twitch streamers. He's kind of the authority on fighting games. And everyone is saying that it plays incredibly well. A lot of Street Fighter 3 Third Strike vibes, which is one of the best Street Fighter games ever created. And my hype levels are truly through the fucking roof for this thing. Seems like a really comprehensive package, and it looks like they're doing it the right way. You have any history with Street Fighter at all?
No, not really. I don't know that much about Street Fighter, but I do know that they have updated the controls to a more modern control set for this game, so it's going to be
Smash
easier
Brothers
for like
style.
newcomers to pick up. Yeah.
So there's no more. I'm sure there's a classic control style where I can still do my little rotation and throw my Hadokens, but there's basically like a special move button, and if you hit up in that button, down in that button, back in that button, you'll perform. Some of these things were a little more hyper intensive for newcomers in the past. So evening the playing field a bit, I think, is a really, really great idea for them. Because there's a lot of casual people that are getting into fighting games because of things like Smash Brothers, and I think they'll have the ability to maybe jump into Street Fighter and have a easier time, because that's one of the things that can be really off-putting, even for somebody that's put in time and learned some combos like me. It sucks to go online and be destroyed, just because you don't move your thumb as fast on the left D-pad as the person, who knows where is fighting against you. So evening that playing field a little bit maybe is the right move. We shall see. But really good showing. Super excited for that third-person adventure mode. I think that's one of the bigger problems with fighting games, is that they're always like a little bit of a one-trick pony. I remember my dad back in the day used to get on me. I could only get a limited amount of video games in a given time frame. I couldn't just have everything that I want. I couldn't just spend my money because it wasn't my money. It was my parents. And my dad used to fucking get on me. He's like, I'm not buying you another Street Fighter or Mortal Kombat because you play them for 2 weeks and then you're fucking done with them. Get something with a story. Get something that's long that you'll enjoy for a long time, and you won't be bugging me again in a couple of weeks. And I was like, oh, fucking fine.
Fair point, Dad.
It really is Papa twitching, but he
Yeah.
usually came through and hooked it up with a fighting game every once in a while. I got my Street Fighters on. My Mortal Kombat's on. But they're bad with those games too, because they'll release like Mortal Kombat 4 and then Mortal Kombat 4 Gold and Street Fighter 2, Street Fighter 2 Turbo, Street Fighter 2 Hyper Fighting Edition, Championship Edition. They nickel and dime you pretty bad these days, but overall, great showing for Street Fighter 6. Next up is a great one for your list, and a great one for the video game community as a whole. We finally saw Hollow Knight Silksong.
I'm excited. Also, I never realized that it was titled Hollow Knight Silksong. For some reason, I thought it was just Silksong. But
Silksong, yeah. I think they need that. I don't know if there's enough, like... I don't know. I don't think you can just call it Silksong and get the sales that you need if you don't.
Yeah, probably not. You need to attach the name, probably.
Especially with how popular Hollow Knight's become, and it's got legs.
Yeah, it's
been
one
around
of.
for a while now.
Probably. I mean, it's definitely in the top 10 Metroidvanias ever, right? I would say.
There's a lot of Metroids and a lot of Castlevanias in there too, but I think you might be right. It's the only modern one I think that has a shot.
Yeah, I mean maybe Metroid Dread, but you know,
I think, yeah. All right.
Oh, you're not a fan?
I'm gonna get fucking snobby over here, but no, you continue.
Okay. Yeah, I'm excited for this game. It was shown at the Xbox event, which was super surprising. I thought for sure it'd be like
had this pegged for Nintendo
event.
Yeah.
Yeah. But hey, I'm taking it wherever I can get it because people have been waiting for so long for this game. There was a trailer a couple of years ago. I don't even know when. It was so long ago. And we've been all putting on our clown shoes every presentation, expecting it to show up, and it never did until now. And I tell you, I can't wait. I mean,
Game Pass
that's
day
the recurring...
one.
Do what?
Game Pass day one.
Yeah, Game Pass day one. It's exciting. I'll be playing it on my Switch because I feel like that's where I'd like to play Metroidvanias.
For the
But
record,
for
we
all the
don't
people,
have it confirmed for Switch.
yeah, but it'll be
I
on
know.
Switch.
It does. It feels like a
Yeah,
Switch game. It does.
yeah, it'll be on Switch. But I know I just keep saying to all my games like I can't wait, but that's just kind of how I feel right now. Like
Yeah.
Silksong, there's not a much to go on. There's no
There
release date
isn't.
for it
That's
yet.
actually the one criticism I have of this announcement is that there's no way. It was arguably the right way to just like bring it back. The announcement was not like, look at this cool Silksong footage. It's, hey, it's Silksong. It exists.
Yeah.
We have it. Here it is. Finally, after all this time, they didn't need to show
Yeah.
much, and they fucking knew that. I don't think there's
Yeah.
anybody here that's like, well, I don't know. I'm gonna hold off my judgment until I see some more about Silksong. People are fucking in, and they've been in for a while. It was all the headline needs to be is that like, hey, Silksong's coming, and it fits in with the arguable release date window of in the next year from Xbox. We'll get to some more on that in just a little bit, but
Yeah.
anything else on Silksong? Again, not that much to go off of. I feel like.
Yeah, not that much. Just I'm excited. I'm here.
Yeah, for sure. All right, we're getting towards the end of our hot lists, if you will, and I got a fucking weird one for you. I got Slope Crashers on here. All right, so this is an indie game. It's part of the Guerrilla Collective show, which nobody watched, including myself. I had to find this game elsewhere after the fact. This is the coolest little video game. It is. Here's the thing about Slope Crashers, is that sometimes you watch a game trailer and you just kind of know that this game is less than $20. And this is one of those games for sure that is less than $20. It is a weird snowboarding video game that falls somewhere in between like Snowboard Kids, which I think it has its closest DNA with, Mario Kart, got like Animal Crossing type characters. It's a very, very bizarre looking game, but it's the closest thing that I've seen to SSX in a while. And the coolest part about this little indie game is you can go play it right this moment. You can download a comprehensive demo on Steam and check it out for yourself. It's over the top, it's colorful, it's fast paced, it's fun, it is low budget, it is not going to win any Game of the Year awards, but I had a hell of a time playing it for 25 minutes. That's really all I have to say about it. If you're into SSX and you like that type of snowboarding game where it's not realistic whatsoever, but it is just really, really fun, I can't recommend enough checking out Slope Crashers. You'll never touch it, right?
No, I'll never touch it.
I get it. Hey,
Yeah.
listen,
Not for
it's
me.
it's not for everybody. It's not. But if you're listening to this and you go, oh man, I wish they'd make a new SSX, this is the closest you got, pal. Go and download that sucker.
The one thing that makes me kind of want to play it is I'm on their website right now, and one of the characters is a lemur.
I played as lemur.
Yeah, the
He was great.
lemur dude.
Yeah. Really, really fun. Honestly, if that game comes out and it has a good push behind it with like online multiplayer and crossplay and it hits the right platforms, I could see it doing like a Fall Guys type of thing where like if you and 3 friends could hop into this game for free and all race one night, it would be a night of dumb fun, and I bet they'd get some repeat customers and some people throwing some cash at them. So pretty cool little game, and I think probably the one on my list that I wanted to get something on there that maybe would be like news to somebody that was listening, where like, oh shit, I haven't even heard about this fucking thing before. All right, next game on Colin's list after the big hit that Slope Crashers was, of course, with him,
Big hit.
is Redfall, a game that's gonna be a big hit with me.
Yeah. Are you sure?
No,
You think so?
not sure.
Okay. I thought you were into it at the showing.
You know, it honestly doesn't look that offensive to me. But you do the table setting here. I'll give you my opinions.
Yeah, so Redfall is an Arcane Games game. They made Dishonored, Prey, Deathloop most recently. I adore Arcane. I've spoken about them many times on this podcast. And Redfall, it seems to not hit any of the things that I want from Arcane. in Arcane. Okay, so Redfall is a open world, almost it's a open world co-op vampire shooter, right? And it just
I'm
doesn't.
about to have my first yawn on GameList.
Yeah, I know, right? Not my first one. God, I've lost my train of thought now. Okay, so it's what I want from Arcane games are single player, linear ish, very stealth, methodical games with multiple routes and stuff. And just Redfall doesn't seem to click any of those boxes for me. And the more I learn about it, the less interested I am, because I've looked, and you can play the game multiplayer with 4 players, which is great, but there's no campaign co-progress. So like if you play a campaign mission in your buddies,
You're just helping out
game,
your friend's game. Yeah.
Yeah, you don't get benefit for that. Kind of similar to like Dark Souls or Elden Ring,
Sure.
but I think Elden Ring is better in that regard because it's more fun to beat a boss twice than it is to play a mission twice.
Sure.
But anyways, if you're playing solo, you don't even have those companions with you. They're not there. There are no AI companions with you.
Yep.
So if you're solo, you're just solo. And this is developed by the director's Harvey Smith. His last game was Dishonored 2, which was probably my favorite game of theirs. And I expected so much from this game. I'm not impressed by the dialogue. I'm not impressed by what I see the gameplay is.
I'm not impressed you put it on your list so far. It sounds like it should be in Stinkers.
Well, it's not in Stinkers because it's an Arcane game. And I instinctively have a soft spot for Arcane games. And I am being more down on this than I should be, just because
it looks generic, man.
It kind of does. And I think now that I've started talking, I put it in best in show because it's Arcane, right?
Yeah.
But now that I'm talking about it, I'm realizing I'm less impressed with it than I was before.
I think what's really interesting about Redfall is how much of a push it's getting from Microsoft. They are very, I don't know, I think that Microsoft is you in this scenario. I'm not sure how impressed they are with the game as much as how much faith they have in the studio and the minds behind it. I think that it's getting the push that it's getting because of the previous work and not because of the body of work here. And it closed out the last Microsoft Bethesda showcase and it opened this one. They are putting all their marbles into this fucking thing. And again, this just seems kind of like Game Pass fodder to me. It feels like it's the easy move to throw it up there, especially with that multiplayer aspect. Like, that's how they'll get me, where it's not the kind of like vampire horror game that's going to scare me. So it's in the realm of possibility, almost like a Left 4 Dead, where I could actually possibly enjoy this thing. Not something that I'm going to go and seek out to play myself, I don't think. But when you boot it up and you're like, I need 3 people to hop in, I'll be one of those people. You know, I'll give it a shot, especially because it's free and I have access to it.
Yeah.
I'm really bad at calling Game Pass free when I understand that there's like a $260 a year cost associated with it.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, it's, you know, it's interesting to see how much they're buying into this thing. But I'm with you. I don't think it looks impressive in any way. It looks like it's a bunch of ideas from other games all combined into one to make a package that feels like it's going to review in the 7s.
Yeah, and I'm there because it is Arcane, like you said.
Yeah.
Not because I'm super impressed with what I've seen so far. I'm there because I trust Arcane. I love their games, and I want this to be a success.
Sure.
But we'll see. We'll see how it plays out. Put it on PlayStation. Maybe then I'll be more excited about it.
Nice.
What
a fucking world we live in. All right.
Right.
Moving forward, I got another weirdo game. But I think more people saw this weirdo game. This game is called Rollerdrome. And this is one of those things where this would be on zero people's radar, but they got the right connections in the right places to slide themselves into a little slot in a showcase, get some eyes on their game that just looks cool and fun, man. This is a third-person rollerblading game with guns. I should stop the presentation there. You've heard everything that you need to hear about Rollerdrome. It is absolutely ridiculous looking. It's developed by Roll7, and Roll7 developed Ollie Ollie World, which is like the same art style, kind of, where it's almost like cell shaded. It does look like Sable, yes indeed. Really, really slick looking game. And when it first came up, I think a lot of people thought, "Oh, is this Sable? What the fuck am I looking at?" Yeah, I did. Here? Completely brand new thing, all its own. But it's somewhere like it's like Tony Hawk meets Max Payne. It's being published by Private Division, which is just a fancy word for Take-Two, smaller little publishing house within that organization. But it's got some really weird arena-based stuff going on where you're doing tricks, but you're also going into bullet time and shooting enemies. There's blood and gore. It is a bizarre-looking video game. And you know me, I'm always looking for games that do different stuff. Like, this is the antithesis of Redfall. Redfall is like, here's a bunch of ideas that have worked in other video games, whereas this is like, here's this completely new thing that nobody else is making. Like, I don't think they're worried about the competition. Like, there's going to be 25 vampire shooting games that come out in the next year. I can guarantee you that we don't get another fucking rollerblading shooting game in the next 10, you know, unless Rollerdrome's a huge success and Rollerdrome 2
Rollerdrome 2.
Yeah, it is a very cool, very unique looking game, and I am supremely excited for it. Coolest part, it's really soon. It's coming out in like 2 months.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's August 16th.
That's awesome. Ollie Ollie World came out recently as well, so they've been
on
it.
Ollie Ollie World is a sequel. I think a lot of people think that Ollie Ollie World is like this brand new game, but Ollie Ollie had been around. I think it started on Vita, I want to say.
It did. There's two Ollie Ollies on Vita,
Ollie Ollie and Ollie Ollie 2, and then Ollie Ollie World is Ollie Ollie 3. Ollie, 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 Ollie. How many times can I say Ollie?
Ollie. Say Ollie, Ollie 10 times really fast.
I just did, and I don't want to again.
Come on.
I don't want to. Don't make me. That's the end of my list, arguably. I was nice though. Even though we each picked 6 for our top games. I was looking at the list, and Colin had forgot to put one on there, and when he said it, I started looking at things that he could potentially cut, and it all felt wrong. Although now in retrospect, I wish I would have made you put Redfall and Stinkers.
Yeah, I had a lot better thought. I thought I had a lot better thoughts about Redfall, but when I started talking, it just
sometimes it takes a GameList episode to realize you're not so hot on something. Happens to the best of us. That's for sure.
So, A Plague Tale Requiem. I can't wait for this game. If you've never played A Plague Tale Innocence, go play it right now. It's a great story player.
We're gonna have to end this podcast. I need to go play Plague Tale.
Oh, okay. I'll see you next time. See you later, guys.
Everybody tune out right now and go play Plague Tale.
Yeah, don't come back until you finish it. But it has a wonderful story that you will not imagine where it goes from the start. It is not what you expect. It defies expectations. The rat mechanics, there are like millions of rats, and they won't get in the light, so you have to use light in
anybody that didn't tune out to go play it is now hitting the X and closing the app on their phone to go, the rat mechanic, let's fucking
the best rat mechanic ever made. It's a game that I would kind of compare to Hellblade: Senua's Sacrifice, and like the level that it is. It's not AAA, but it has one heck of a story. The visuals are great, and you'll love the characters that you come into contact with.
I actually got those two games mixed up for a long time. That first Plague Tale and Senua both are like they have this like similar washed out visual feel to them that feels wrong. They're like, I don't know. There are these games like Hellblade and this one. Both, I look at those games and I've seen them before, and I think this one does a better job of showing you like, hey, this is what this game plays like. I looked at those games, I'm like, what type of games are those? Like, they almost looked like, I think I pegged both of those for like story-based visual walking simulators at first, but I think they're both more than that. It's a tough call.
Yeah, they're definitely both more than that, but the gameplay on the first one of each of those respective series are it's lacking. The gameplay is lacking, but the story and the visuals and the characters are where it makes up for it. Requiem is just a follow-up to the first game, which left at a very good spot. I'm surprised they're actually making a sequel. It had a great ending, but it did so well, and here it is. So I'm excited to see where Amicia and Hugo go. And I'm just so excited. There's so many games. I can't wait.
Shout out to our Amicia and Hugo fans.
Amicia, I'm pretty sure I'm pronouncing her name right. Could be wrong, but
I bet we'll find out in this next one.
Yeah, we will.
Hugo's gonna call her by her name, and you'll know for sure.
America. That's not my name, Hugo.
Perfect.
It's Amicia.
But no, it was a good showing. I felt like I had a better understanding of what that game had to offer than I ever had of its, predecessor.
Yeah.
So,
yeah,
doing something right. But that concludes our list of our top games, our top pulls from this season of Summer Games Fun. But we're not done yet. We still got a lot to go. We're gonna go through our honorable mentions, which are some of them are games, some of them are more announcements / ideas, subjects, topics. Yeah. And then we got a couple stinkers at the end as well. Not bad.
Stinkers.
The first one
Redfall and stinkers
that I have is, arguably this would probably be like my 7th thing that I'm like the hottest on if I was going to add one to my list, but I just threw it in honorable mention. I'm not like over the moon about this or anything like that, but I'm pretty excited for Minecraft Legends. I was surprised. This had a really funny announcement, and I don't know if it was deliberate or not, but it had this like really crazy trailer where it faded in. It was like a new game from the creators of Minecraft, and I was like, holy shit.
Yeah.
What is Mojang gonna do? Like, they're gonna finally do another fucking video game? It just like goes right into like a game that looks exactly like Minecraft, and it is just a Minecraft fucking spin-off. It was fine, but honestly, we don't have that much to go off of, but we do know that it is a action strategy game in the Minecraft universe. All we have to go off of is Minecraft Dungeons, I think. And Minecraft Dungeons is a really well-made video game. I've played that a couple times, and it's super, super entertaining. I'm a fan of the action strategy genre, so I'm likely going to be a fan of this. All the signs point to get hype. So, interesting little trailer, nice little presentation, very light on gameplay. Excited to see what this will have in the future. I'm not sure if it's going to be... I think the way that Minecraft Dungeons and Minecraft proper differentiate each other is like Minecraft proper is obviously a super unique, like, do anything, make your own video game thing, where Minecraft Dungeons is a super linear experience. There's not that much as far as customization goes. I hope this falls somewhere in the center. If it's strategy and I'm building up towns and things like that, it could be interesting to see how much flexibility there is, which kind of excites me about it.
Yeah, Minecraft Dungeons is like a Diablo light.
It is. Yep, for sure.
It's good.
Action
finished
looter. It's worth checking out. I never finished it either, but I played it with friends a couple times and I had a good time. So, what more could you really ask for? Let's get into one of your honorable mentions. One that took me by surprise. Goat Simulator 3.
Yeah. So to cast your mind back, the trailer opened up. It said, Geoff Keighley was like, hey, this is from a developer in a game that we haven't heard from in a long time. And we're like, no way. Is this Dead Island 2? Because it opens up with the exact same trailer. And then it gets to his face and you're like, oh, did they downgrade the graphics?
Yeah, what's happening here?
Yeah. So then you continue to go thinking it's Dead Island 2 with different graphical style until you start seeing goats flying around in the background. And we're like, oh my God, we've been tricked. This is Goat Simulator 2.
It was clever. I got to give them credit.
Yeah. And then at the end, they're like, oh no, this isn't Goat Simulator 2. This is Goat Simulator 3. They just completely skipped 2. and I don't know why nobody's done that before, but it's genius. I mean, it's stupid, but it's genius.
Yeah, it is dumb.
And they absolutely played us at every turn for that announcement. The original Goat Simulator was fun. It was just like a dumb, fun game sometimes. I actually got the platinum on that game.
No interest. I've never played it, but as far as game goes, are you genuinely excited you'll play this game?
When it's if it's like free, I'll play it.
Yeah.
I won't be spending like $60 on it.
That's fair.
Yeah.
That's fair.
I just liked the announcement. The announcement itself was genius.
Agreed. Yeah, we're gonna run through these pretty quick. My next one is Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Shredder's Revenge release date. We've already seen so much about this game. We knew it was coming. When was the big question? They had just told us summer. The answer was exactly a week later. We're now recording this on June 21st. It came out on June 16th. This game is out, available. It's on Game Pass. And spoiler alert, we're going to talk about it a lot on the next game list. But it's as close as you can get to Shadow Drop without being a Shadow Drop. 1 week from the announcement of the release date to this game is now playable is a really, really hot ticket. It would have been awesome if they said, hey, go get it right now. But I'll take a 1 week window for sure.
Yeah.
For sure. But really cool little bonus there because I was already all in on that game, and the fact that it was just immediately available for me, or really quickly available for me, good presentation. We love to see it. Next one for you is Fort Solis, which I'm going to be 100% honest. I don't know what the fuck Fort Solis is, other than the fact that I remember the name. I was like, oh yeah, I think I saw the trailer.
So
what the fuck is it?
Yeah, I think it's Fort Solis, but I don't really think the pronunciation matters that much. I'm probably going to refer to it as Fort Solis. But also, turns out I was pronouncing Trek to Yomai incorrectly. Evidently, it is Yomi.
Oh, you fucking made me look like a jackass.
I still think it's Yomai though, but whatever.
It's the Nomai curse from.
Yeah, I've heard everyone call it Yomi, but I'm like, that doesn't sound right. It's got to be Yomai. But anyways, Fort Solis.
I think it's Yome.
Yome. Trick to Yome.
That's it.
Fort Solis has Troy Baker and Roger Clark in it, which is, Troy Baker has done everything under the sun, including Joel from The Last of Us.
Oh, this is that one where the whole thing was on the fucking. Oh yeah,
it's on Mars.
The verbs are important.
Yeah. You're trapped on like a base in Mars. It's another survival horror space game, evidently. And Roger Clark is from Red Dead Redemption 2. He plays Arthur Morgan. So this game, I mean, it gives me vibes of course, Dead Space. There were lots of games at the Summer Games Fest that was like space survival horror. Here you go. But this game was really red. I don't remember if you remember the trailer, but like every shot was red and monotone red and black, just red. And I just really enjoyed the vibe of it. It reminded me of the mission in The Last of Us Part 2 when you're in the metro and the flares are up and it's just black and red. I really like the vibe of it. We'll see how it turns out. There was no release date announced. We don't know that much about it. But I'm into it. And I like Roger Clark and Troy Baker.
I like Roger Clark.
Listen, I like Troy Baker as a performer. I don't know about him personally. I could care less. Although he didn't wear socks in his shoes that day, so that was kind of
yeah.
Put on some socks, man.
Tough look, bro. Those are gonna be some stinkers. You gotta take care of your dogs, bro.
Take care of your dogs.
That's what we always say over here on GameList. My next. Next pick is honorable mention to the collaboration between Riot Games and Game Pass. I think this is like a small blip on the show, in a hugely mutually beneficial business move for both of these companies. Essentially, what you need to know is that Riot Games is now partnered with Game Pass, and starting soon, if you have a Game Pass subscription, which many people do, and if you play League of Legends, which many people do, you get every champion unlocked for free. I think it's going to be something that drives Game Pass subscribers to League. I think it's going to be something that drives League players to Game Pass. A lot of kids play League of Legends. A lot of them have to ask their parents for Riot points or whatever the fuck they're called. And I think that it's going to be a much easier sell for them to say, can I have $15 so that I can get the 1 month subscription and do that every month, as opposed to them saying, can I have $20 in points to buy a fucking skin? It also comes with benefits to the portable version of League, Teamfight Tactics, Valorant, which is same deal, hugely popular to unlock all of those agents. Just a really cool collaboration and a smart business move among many from both of those companies that seem to make smart business moves quite often. So, pretty rad.
I just want to bring up a joke that I thought was really funny on our live reaction. I think I said, or you said, that Microsoft was assembling the Infinity Gauntlet of developers that sexually harass their staff.
Yeah, that's right. Microsoft's fucking plunking in their Infinity Stones of all the developers that sexually harass people on the job. They got Activision, they got Blizzard. We just gotta get
they
fucking.
got Riot.
They got Ubisoft, and they're gonna snap every woman out of the working world. Fucking nightmare, dude. Terrible.
Oh, jeez.
Terrible. All right, I think it's for the better because Microsoft seems to have it together. So the more that they absorb these companies with these shitty practices, hopefully they can clean up their act and be a little better.
No, man, they're just dirty in the water at this point.
Fucking nightmare. All right, onto more appropriate things.
Yeah.
Forza Horizon 5 Hot Wheels, baby.
Yeah, let's go.
So in on this. Is this yours or mine?
It's mine.
No, I think it's ours.
Well, it's on my list, but sure, it's ours.
All right.
I'm excited.
Me
I
too.
didn't play. I've never played any of the Forza Horizon expansions.
Me either.
I'm excited to pick up this Hot Wheels expansion, and we're going to have to stream it one night because we had a great time streaming Forza Horizon 5 at once.
Horizon 5 was a blast.
I hope they've worked out all their multiplayer crap now.
I'm sure it's going to be on fire, yeah.
Yeah.
They've had the time to do it.
Yeah, Hot Wheels was just like part of my childhood. I had all sorts of Hot Wheels cars.
Yeah.
So I'm definitely picking this up, and we're gonna have a great time.
I mean, Forza's already arcadey and it handles well, and having all of these like tracks in the sky and doing loops and shit like that, adding that like even more unrealistic element onto their arcade racer is just such a perfect fit. It's one of those things where like you already know that the base game is there, and all you need to do is announce the theme of the DLC, and it's like you can already feel it, and you already know how good it is.
Yeah.
It's going to be a blast.
Yep. It's going to
be
great.
Super excited.
And they already did it for Forza Horizon 3. So some people are like, oh, you already did this. But it's like, shut up. We want to enjoy Hot Wheels, man. It doesn't matter. It's going to be good.
Our last honorable mention. Please welcome to the show, Hideo Kojima. Kojima-san. A pleasure to have you here. It does kind of look like he's part of the podcast right now, right?
He does. Hello, Mr.
If you're
Kojima.
watching the video thing, it's just like a picture of Kojima addressing the camera. It's a perfect
He looks
fit.
very disapproving with that
We should
look
just
on
make
his
this the
face.
thumbnail and title this thing on YouTube, Interview with Hideo Kojima, and everyone will think,
Hideo
oh my god,
Kojima
he's on the
visited
show.
our podcast. Whoa! How did this little podcast crew get Hideo?
All right. Now, here's the question that I have for you before we get into this. No, you take it away, and I'll ask the question. That's not the right way to do it.
Yeah, so Hideo Kojima popped out right before the Starfield stuff at the Xbox showcase, and he's like, hello, I'm Hideo. I'm excited to be working with Xbox. Have a good day. That was pretty much it. Turns out he's using Xbox's cloud-based stuff to make something. Xbox did not buy Kojima Productions. They're just working together on some stuff.
Get that bag,
Kojima,
King.
Yeah, for real. I don't blame him, bro. I'd be going everywhere I could get the money.
For sure.
But he's still working with PlayStation. He's working tightly with PlayStation on one thing, and he's working with Xbox on another thing. So he's got a lot in the pipeline. And I will say, this announcement right here, this whatever this was, Hideo popping up, this is what made me lose faith in the fact that they said everything's coming in 1 year. Because there ain't no way
was gonna be my question.
Hideo Kojima's. Yeah,
I don't know.
Not
they would have
1
shown
year.
something if they had more to show. I don't think that counts towards their 1 year thing, because that's I think it's
don't
maybe
know,
like
man.
a slick way to do it, because they didn't technically like all we're gonna do is show games that are coming out this year. They didn't show a game. All they did was show Kojima. But I think
don't
what
like
you
those
were
loopholes,
saying
though.
about Kojima being like smart about not selling his company and just kind of freelancing it and like just building for different platforms and studios and all these deals is such a smart move, because Kojima is one of the very few like auteurs, I believe we could say, in the video game industry. There are very few, like the movie industry has like Tarantino and Spielberg and Kubrick and all these like last names that you can follow and enjoy their films that come out, right? And they all go to different publishers, or however the fuck movies are released. Studios, that's the word I'm looking for. Tune in next week to Movie List, soon, spin-off podcast. But Kojima is one of the very few, I think, big names that sells a game just from having his name in a title. Because, I mean, who else can you think of? Kojima, Miyamoto?
I mean, Miyamoto has his name in every game, though. Every Nintendo game.
No, he doesn't. Everything that he's worked on, as it deserves.
Yeah, but he works. I mean, he has a hand.
He is. Don't speak that way about fellow of Nintendo, Shigeru Miyamoto.
I'm not talking bad about it, but I'm saying.
Do you know that's his? Do you know that's his job title now?
Fellow of Nintendo.
Fellow of Nintendo.
I think I heard that somewhere. Yeah.
It's so weird.
Kind of
I love it.
It's crazy. Can I be fellow of?
GameList? You are.
Yeah, fellow of GameList. Sure.
I don't know what it means. It's got to be important. You're Miyamoto. You don't get a shitty title.
A fellow of.
I think Druckmann is maybe getting close. Even though he's synonymous with Naughty Dog, I think he's got the right name for it, and I think he's doing a decent job. I think that is maybe like the next big one.
Maybe Amy Hennig, but not quite.
Yet.
No one's on the level of Kojima, is what you're saying, and I agree.
Yeah. Pretty cool. But and again, another good business move from both. That's more Microsoft making smart alliances over there.
And he doesn't want to sell his company because he dealt with the crap from Konami for years. Then when he finally got out and made his own studio, he doesn't want to have another boss again, really. He wants to be his own boss, and I think that's great because it allows more creativity. And I say, hey, man, for real, get the bag.
Yeah,
I don't care.
He's protecting himself, because that if he signed some sort of exclusivity deal, it would have some sort of clause in it that at some point, if they decided, they could just fucking boot his ass out and keep Kojima Productions to themselves and start pumping out games under his name. And he doesn't want that, and it's smart, because he's been burned once and he won't be burned again. You ready to get into some fucking stinkers?
Yeah.
Diablo 4. Are you surprised to see this as a stinker for me?
Yes, I almost put that on my best in show, because previously I was not interested in Diablo 4. Now I'm kind of interested in it.
I think it was such a shitty showing for them. The problem with Diablo 4's showing this time is that there was not enough new to warrant their extremely long thing. When they
we got a new class.
That's all it was they like, here's the Necromancer, which is a returning class. Necromancer was in Diablo 2 and 3. It was paid DLC in 3, their only DLC. But nonetheless, it's just another class. There was a CGI trailer, which looked shittier than their announcement trailer. It didn't even, I couldn't even put my finger on it. I was like, is this Diablo? We were kind of trying to figure it out as they aired it. And it was unremarkable in every way. Ugh, I really, really loathed it. And part of it comes from, I am not a big fan of the aesthetic of Diablo 2, and I know that's what they're trying to cash in on. I think Diablo 3 is more up my alley, a little more colorful, a little less drab. This is all about the blood and the guts and the Satanism and that stuff, the bad guy stuff.
I like blood and guts, and then
blood, gore, all that stuff is in there, and it's just not hitting for me. And I've played Diablo 4, and I liked it. I played it at BlizzCon 2019 before they showed their ass.
Suspect. Oh yeah.
And it was fun. The game played so well. I played as the druid, and the hacking and slashing was super sound. The game looked good. It was fluid, and it, I am excited for this game, but just not a good showing for them at Summer Game Fest. Not Not impressive. That's all I really got on Diablo 4. Let's get into your stinker. If this man finds out that you called him a fucking stinker, he's gonna punch your face
my
in.
Skull in, dude.
The Rock, Dwayne The Rock Johnson is a stinker?
Dude, his little ad at Summer Games Fest.
So bad.
I couldn't hold it together.
It was stinky.
He was rambling about so much. He like started off as like, "Hey, Summer Games Fest. Hey, I'm in my gym pumping some iron."
It was weird, man.
"Hey, look at my energy drink. Hey, I'm in Fortnite. Oh, hold on, I'm in this new movie. Blah blah blah." And it just
also drink my energy drink.
Drink my energy drink.
Somebody in my chat, we streamed our reactions to these live on my Twitch channel, twitch.tv/JakeTwitchin for all of you listening and watching elsewhere. And somebody said it looks like Microsoft requested or Jeff Keighley requested a cameo from Dwayne Johnson, because it was just like, this guy's like a multi-millionaire and they probably paid him a bunch of money and he's getting to plug his product, and he does the whole thing from like from his camera, from his selfie cam, like not even on a stick, like literally holding it. Well,
he just got off the bench press, man.
If I looked like that, I would never wear a shirt. All of GameList would be no shirt.
That's fair. I probably.
In fact, I'd stick of wearing shirts now. All the remainder of GameList is no shirt.
No shirt time.
Don't.
No.
All right. But yeah,
it was
stinky.
funny.
It was weird. Yeah, I agree. I think it's warranted. If you wouldn't have put it on your list, I would have put it on mine. Very good. You know what? You do your last stinker, and then I'll save mine for last because there's still kind of a question on it. Your last stinker is something that never made it out of the pre-viz stage of their.
Oh my god, no joke! It's As Dusk Falls, and if I could describe this game, it would be maybe a Life is Strange, strip back everything, all of the graphics, everything. Have only pictures that you took on a digital camera that you then took into Photoshop and applied the watercolor filter to. And then you take these photos and you make them jiggle a little when they talk. This game just seems like one of the most uninspired games I've ever seen. I don't know what it was about it.
It looks like if it was like a TV show, I would see the trailer and be like, oh my god, I would never watch this in a million years. And it truly looks like, if you're familiar with like movie making, what previs is, where it's like, sketches.
Storyboarding.
Yeah, exactly. And they kind of string them all together so you have an idea of how things might flow. It is a bizarre way to present a fucking video game, and I could not be less interested in it. And that is a determining factor in how uninterested I am. It's weird, man.
It's just, I'm not impressed at all. It's, some things move, some things just like phase in and out, and like it's like they're walking in VR and you just like hop from one place to the next.
Yeah, it's it has to be, if you're listening and not watching, it does have to be seen to believe. Either just Google the trailer, pull this thing up on YouTube. As Dusk Falls, it is bizarre.
Yeah,
you think you'll play it?
And you know, am I gonna play it?
Yeah.
Oh, not a chance. No.
Really?
No.
Life is Strange.
No.
Guy.
I love Life is Strange, but I don't love freaking storyboards. You know, I'm not into this at all. I'm getting so aggravated about this. No, I wouldn't play this game. How dare you?
I'll never play
As
Dusk Falls. All right, what if this game comes out and gets like universal praise, 9.5, not 10 out of 10? Like every reviewer is like, this is game of the year. It's the best story ever told in video games.
I'll pass. If it's that good of a story, you should have given it a better coat of paint.
I like that shitty attitude. That's what I'm talking about. That's the GameList way. I'm not playing that thing ever. Yeah, I'm the same way. I haven't played Life is Strange. Everyone tells me it's the fucking
Life
best.
is Strange is real good, though. It's real good.
Yeah. All right, you ready for my fucking stinker? The last stinker?
To me.
Where the fuck is Nintendo? What the hell, man?
They announced it today.
No, they didn't.
Yeah, there's a Xenoblade.
No, the Xenoblade doesn't count.
Direct.
That doesn't count. No, that's there's two stinkers. There's two stinkers. All right. The first thing is that there's no Nintendo Direct. They're not playing ball, and I don't fucking like that. I didn't like when Sony pulled out of E3. They made good on it by still having their own event in the same time frame, but last year they did this to us too, where Sony did not show during Summer Game Fest or anything like that. They didn't have an event until June or July or something like that. September?
I think it was
even
August or September.
Yeah, it was a long time after. I just wish everybody could play nice and understand that that's what gamers want. Give us a nice, even look at everything that's coming out. The fact that Sony and Microsoft were in, Keighley had to have been in contact with people to see if they could get this going. I get it. They're marching to the beat of their own drums. They'll show things when there's a million reasons why, I'm sure. Play ball, man. Let the gamers have it. Let us see everything. If it was E3 still, if this was the glory days, you'd have no choice but to be there and to show your stuff. I get that we're in different times, but it sucks that of all the places that didn't play ball this year, it was Nintendo. And now the next stinker is that Nintendo has announced a direct for fucking tomorrow or something about Xenoblade Chronicles 3, which I don't care about. And there is still a rumor that there's a full direct coming at the end of this month, allegedly on the 29th. If there is, we'll cut them a little bit of slack. They still made it in before June, but come on, you couldn't reach that 2 or 3 week window. It would have been nice.
It's also worth noting, on a similar vein, there's rumors that there's going to be a PlayStation event soon, and they're going to unveil some newly leaked hardware, which is a Pro controller, 3 different headset models, and maybe 2 monitors. They might not be at the PlayStation event, but they're definitely Sony products. Yeah,
interesting. Could be good. I like a Sony Pro controller, especially if it was a little more DualShocky than it was DualSense. I would like a DualSense. I would like a DualShock with a DualSense fixins.
Yeah, I mean, I think people would buy that.
I liked the DualShock 4 was a better controller than the DualSense for me.
See, for my hands, the DualSense works better.
You got big hands?
I got big hands.
I got like average.
Mine are big and skinny. Yeah. Mine are like big and skinny.
Yeah. What can you do?
Yeah, but
Elite controller, best one on the market.
Yeah, until it breaks.
True.
But yeah, I'll take a Pro controller. Also, I'll take a new headset. I need a new headset.
Oh, for some reason, when you said headsets, I was thinking VR headsets. It's just like
probably
like updates to that like silver, gold, and platinum set that they have.
Yeah, kind of. Evidently, I don't even know if it's PlayStation branded, but there were some leaks of like even pictures of Sony headsets that are gaming directed. So it would make sense if they were PlayStation branded, but I'm not sure if they are. But
we'll see. But hey, that's a GameList bonus for you.
Yeah, that's a wrap.
Solid little hour and a half plus of us just talking about all the stuff that came out. What do you think of this year? What do you think of Summer Game Fest and all of these things? Do you feel, has your whistle been aptly wet?
I don't think so.
I think it came up a little bit short.
I think so.
I mean, we just talked about a dozen things that are so good. Like, there's plenty to love and enjoy, but it doesn't quite feel, it's almost there. The one thing that we didn't really talk about after all these events is that there was a behind closed doors Summer Game Fest event for press, where it was really small, apparently extremely intimate, behind the scenes looks and playable versions of Street Fighter and Sonic and a bunch of other games that were shown at Summer Game Fest and other things. A lot of it is still actually locked under NDA, and we'll be hearing about it in the near future. GameList will be there next year, guaranteed. Geoff Keighley, friend of the show, lost our invites, but I'm sure he'll make right on it.
We understand, Geoff.
It's not a big deal, Geoff.
The United States Postal Service is rough, so we get it.
It happens to the best of us. But I still think,
sorry. I will say, I think the reason it didn't hit as hard this year is because we're so used to a sudden spike of news and dopamine from all the news, and then it goes right down. But here recently, it's been more of a constant stream, not nearly getting the highs, but also not ever reaching the lows of news that we had in the past.
For sure. I think if Nintendo was added to this and they had a big old, here's Zelda, here's a new Mario, here's a Mario Kart something, here's an Animal Crossing expansion, was added to this whole thing, this show would have been much different, and we would have been talking about a lot of extra things, and it maybe would have felt a little bit more complete, but it does feel like we're missing that little piece of the pie, and I think that really hurts it. For sure. But overall still a little lackluster. It's not E3 2018 or prior or anything like that. Maybe one day we'll get back to those glory days, but for right now we're making do with what we got. Hell of an episode.
It was fun.
Where can people find you?
You can find me at Kaulin, Kauline _. If you can't find me, take out the underscore. I'm there somewhere. Just find one of them. You'll find the rest.
Hell yeah. I'm Jake Twitchin, like twitching without the G. Jake Twitchin on Twitch and YouTube and Instagram and Twitter and pretty much fucking everywhere. Same deal. If you're listening to us, please go watch us. If you're watching us, please go listen to us. If you've already listened and watched, come find us on Twitch and say hi and chat. We'd love to have you. Thank you guys so much for listening. This is always a pleasure. This is just a little bonus. We've done a lot of like supplementary game list stuff over the last couple weeks. There's a ton of stuff to see on Kaulin's YouTube channel, bunch of Twitch streams coming up, spoilers coming up for Final Fantasy VII Remake Integrate. We'll have a game list proper coming out in about 10 days at the beginning of July. Plenty to talk about there. We'll still be talking about any news that hasn't happened yet or things that we didn't hit on during this episode. We just wanted to make sure that we didn't have like a 5-hour July episode. So I think it was smart to hop in here and just talk about all the stuff that we saw over the last week or two for all this Summer Games madness. We'll be back with our regular Game of the Year discussions, our what we've been playing discussions, all the games that are coming out in July, all that fun stuff, and making good on some bets, baby, coming up very, very soon. Thank you guys all for listening, and we'll see you next time. Colin, trademark sign off is
take care of your dogs, man.
Take care of your dogs.
Take care of your dogs.
Very good, dude.